Good afternoon. It's 12 noon. I am so excited. My name is Jeannie Sweeney, and I'm the founder and the CEO of the Above Board Chamber. We have a wonderful webinar that we are bringing to you today, bringing life to webinars, podcasts, and creating an audience to grow your business. There's so many people are so intrigued about all these webinars and podcasts that are going on all over the nation. And it's a great thing to learn how to do for your business, because you'd be surprised how many people you're going to reach. And in order for us to help you, we brought some of the experts in our area, and they're going to help you. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Above Board Chamber. We are starting our 10th year, which we're very excited, in Southwest Florida. We have members in Lee and Cuyler County, and normally we meet in those areas, but hopefully sometime in the end of the fall, we will be back. But we do a lot of things for our members. For instance, we can put blogs up for them for free on our website. We put events up for free for them. We put all different things, press releases, and we're able to do a lot of things with our website. And we work very well with our members because they're so important to us that we can get their message out to people, especially in today, what's going on with the virus and things. So we're able to reach a lot of people, and we're very excited about it. I'm going to bring in somebody right now who I'm very proud to bring in. That's Brittany Brown. Brittany is amazing. Brittany Cooper Brown. You're going to love Brittany. She runs the American Cancer Society in this area, and she's going to tell us what is going on in the area, which I have to put in to say I'm the co-chairperson, and she is a member of the Above Board Chamber. But we have some exciting news and what we're going to be doing, Brittany. So could you please share with us?
Sure, I would love to. Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Jeannie, for allowing me to be the featured nonprofit of the call this week. To tell you a little bit about myself, of course, Jeannie introduced me, Brittany Brown Cooper. I've been with American Cancer Society for approximately a year. To go a little forward, American Cancer Society has been the leaders in groundbreaking cancer research for over 100 years. We continue to provide support and services to those who need us, our patients and their caregivers, families, and staff members who have been going through these trying times, and not only are going through these trying times, but also continue to go through their cancer journeys. Our fundraiser is Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, and just like other organizations, pretty much every organization has been impacted by this pandemic and COVID-19 and the difference it has made in the United States. But American Cancer Society has been heavily impacted due to not being able to have in-person fundraising. So keeping the safety of our demographic in mind, we have made the ultimate challenging and necessary decision to make strides virtual this year. With Jeannie Sweeney's help as our wonderful, fabulous co-chair, that's our favorite word, fabulous, we have decided to extend that from October 1st to October 17th. So we're asking our striders to put on their favorite pink outfits and walk where you are and walk your way. So take your time if you don't want to go out in that heat. Walk around the house, in your neighborhoods, at your organization, and help us to raise awareness for breast cancer research, and also raise funds to help for the grant funding for that groundbreaking research. So we're asking you to join the movement in celebrating and honoring those who are battling cancer, our survivors, thrivers, and previvors, by signing up a team on our Making Strides website. I'll share that in the chat afterwards. But we are genuinely asking you, and we're grateful for being able to speak on this call today, but we are asking for you to join the movement by starting a team, sponsoring, or even joining Jeannie Sweeney's team. She's made her team, and she will be posting that on her social media soon. So help us honor those touched by this awful disease. Help us unite in the fight against breast cancer, and help Jeannie Sweeney, our co-chair, reach her goal this year with Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And we thank you so much for allowing us to be the featured fundraiser for this call, Jeannie.
You have me so excited. I'm like dancing in my little square here, you know? So I am so, but tell us how to, I know you're going to say you're going to do it in the chat room. Tell us now where they can sign up, because I just want our listeners to also know this webinar, everyone is going to get a copy of it after a while, sometime this afternoon when it's all fixed up and ready to go. So they will hear it again. So could you just tell us one more time?
I sure can. So you can sign up for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer of Southwest Florida at makingstrideswalk.org/SWFL for Southwest Florida. So it's makingstrideswalk.org/SWFL.
Thank you, Brittany. You are doing an outstanding job. And there are so many people, everybody knows somebody that has cancer. And we're not asking everybody to spend a whole lot of money and donate a whole lot of money, but every single dollar counts for this organization so we can put a stop to breast cancer. So thank you for what you're doing. And we're going to start our program now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our panelists one at a time, and they're each going to tell you a little bit about themselves. If you're on social media, you know their bios because we have had them all over the place, so we don't need to read them again. So I am going to start with Miss Jennifer. Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I would be happy to. All right, there we go. It is, first of all, great to see so many friends on the call. I see Suha, Carol Davis is with us, Laura Coleman, we were just on the phone this morning, Marcy Berland. So one of my favorite things is just bringing our community together. And I get to do that through my role with the Next Gen Speaker Series. We bring our community together to learn from really inspiring leaders. Oftentimes that includes Fortune 500 CEOs. We've had the founder of Best Buy, the former CEO of Walmart, the creator of Blinds.com. And we get to learn from their life journey, their successes, and really their failures along the way. I think we learn even more from that. So it just has been an awesome opportunity to bring together my passions for leadership, mentorship, developing talent, and marketing and communications all in our community. If you haven't been involved with NextGen before, shoot me an email. I would be happy to add you to our list so you can see what we have coming up this season with a great lineup of speakers. I'll put my email in the chat box. Thanks so much for having me,
Jennifer. We're excited to have you first time on our webinar, and we're going to have fun and we're going to learn lots of things from you, we're sure. So Corey, tell us a little bit about you and the Florida Freak Show.
Oh yeah. So hello everyone. So great to be here. Thank you again, Jeannie, for inviting me. My name is Corey O'Donnell. I'm the co-host, founder of the Florida Freak Show. The Florida Freak Show is a podcast that you can get on every podcast platform. Sometimes I lose track of all the different ones that we're on. But if you're a big fan of podcasts like I am, you might like it. It's all about, we share weird and wacky Florida stories that are happening around the state. And I work on it with my wife and we both read these stories and then we share some thoughts on them. And so if you've ever been like me and read about some of these stories and sort of talk about it around the water cooler with people or just coworkers or family members or something, it's a lot like that. We always get a big kick out of it. We're both journalists, former journalists, so we've read and seen a lot of these stories over the years. And we thought about what could we do to have a laugh. So we just thought, let's put together a podcast and see how it goes. And we really have good chemistry together. I guess we should. I mean, we're married, so. But it's a lot of fun. So we put out a new episode every Wednesday. We have a blast doing it. It's a little bit of work, but it's a whole lot of fun. And we would invite you to check us out. So you can subscribe on any platform, Apple platform, Spotify. We're everywhere. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out. My Twitter account is @CoreyO'Donnell. It's really easy to find. And the Freak Show is on Twitter and Facebook at FLA Freak Show.
Well, thank you, Corey.
Yeah.
Honey, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, Jeannie. Thanks for having me on the Above Board Chamber meeting this week or this month. I know you, since COVID has hit, you're getting together with all of us in our own homes or our own offices on a weekly basis, just about, which has been wonderful. I'm the owner of Conrick PR and Marketing. Many of you know what we do. But recently we've launched our own podcast as well. We are even though we're a public relations and marketing company that is comprehensive, we do graphic design, content writing, website development, and anything that your company might need in the way of communications and marketing. We are also our own kind of media outlet. We have so many great media outlets out there, from print, television, radio, etc. But we needed some additional platforms where we could make sure that amazing businesses, nonprofits, and individuals have the opportunity to be featured and connect and engage with our community. So we created first a Facebook platform just in March, right after the pandemic hit our area, as a way to create a platform that had some positive news and uplifting information on it, because everywhere we were turning to, we were seeing the numbers go up. We were seeing all sorts of things happening, and not that we all should turn a blind eye to what's going on in our world, but we did, I felt, need a safe haven for some positive news and information, something that's going to help each individual that's impacted by COVID or just impacted by everyday life. I mean, we all face some harshness in reality, but we all have some amazing positive things going on at the same time too. So the Southwest Florida Strong podcast and platform is going to share laughter, some jokes, some positive business news and information. So businesses not necessarily are selling on that platform, but they have an opportunity to share a menu or other great things happening that are great for our community to know, because there's too many businesses that may not have the opportunity to do their own marketing, and we want to help promote them, help to get their word out in a way that is totally inexpensive and doesn't cost them anything to be on our platform. So we're very excited to offer Southwest Florida Strong and get that launched this month.
Well, we're excited. I have to say, I love Southwest Florida Strong because of all the things you said. It's like, you know, you're just learning things. People are promoting things. There's no politics in it, which is really, really good. And it's just a fun platform. You know, like I said, you know what it is? It is Southwest Florida Strong. It is about Southwest Florida. So thank you for that. And while I'm talking to you, I want to thank you for helping us with all of our, podcasts, all of our webinars. Since we started, we've been blessed to have Javier and the Conrec team helping us get this stuff out. So thank you very much.
You're
Along
welcome.
with doing our website. So we are good partners. So thank you. Erica, tell us about Erica.
Hi, Jeannie. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to be here. And a quick shout out to a few of my friends, Sue, Gina, Carol, Kendra. There's a few others on here, Patrice. So excited. And of course, my fellow panelists, I'm excited to learn from you today as we're here today. So I am the founder of Castor Consulting, and what that means in a nutshell for you, why that's important for you to think about, is my jam is really helping people that are established in their local markets expand their reach nationally and globally. So today, we're going to be talking about some of the strategies that I have been able to not only implement for myself, but implement for my clients, and collectively with my clients and myself have been featured on over 500 podcasts, media publications, virtual and in-person speaking events all across the globe. In fact, my brand is, and I'm impacting people in 23 countries to date, which is pretty powerful for a chick that just started her business 5.5 years ago in a local market. I had a very established local market, but I just knew that the things that I was working on was meant for more. And so just through trial and error and some of the things that kind of worked in my world, it just became evident that there were so many business owners out there that really wanted to take what they were doing to impact their local clients and serve more people, serve people in other markets. And so through podcasting, we're going to talk about two different sides of podcasting today. Obviously, one side, my podcast is called the Love the Work You Do podcast, and it has been in inception since November. It is a powerful show to tap into any resources on productivity, sales, and marketing, you know, getting along with people, collaboration, networking, all of those fabulous things. And we're making that in real time, especially relevant for where we're currently at in this world. But then on the flip side of it, being able to partner with other podcast hosts and feature my voice on their platforms as well. So we're going to talk about those things today, and I'm excited to dive into this conversation. So again, thank you, Above Board Chamber, for having me here today. I appreciate it.
Well, we are excited, Erica. I am so excited that I cannot wait. So I just want to let everybody, or all the people that are up there in our gallery listening, there is a button down the bottom called Q&A. If you have any questions, please put your questions in during the program. And if we have time, we will get to every single one of them because I'm sure they're going to be a lot of fun and very, very interesting. Also want to remind everyone at the end of the webinar, once the film is ready and we're ready to put it, we will be emailing it out to everyone. So if you need to get up and get a drink or go to the potty or something, you can get that break because you will get it later on. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to do these questions because I am so excited about all the things that we're going to learn. And Jennifer, I am going to start with you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
As a former news anchor and reporter, you're most comfortable being on camera than most of us. How can we all put our best face forward in this kind of virtual setting? You're the pro, let us know.
All right. Well, here's why I think this is so important. When you feel good about yourself, that comes across in your confidence and that comes across in your presentation. So there's a couple easy things that you can do when you're in an environment like this to make sure that you're putting your best face forward. And that starts with the things we were fiddling with just before we went live for this webinar. So one of my favorite things that I bet half the people on this call are making this mistake. Are you using the camera on the top of your laptop and your laptop is down on your computer, right? And you're looking down at that camera. Well, that means everybody else is looking up your nose and seeing the ceiling behind you. I know because I'm only 5 feet tall. And when I would shoot interviews as a reporter, I was shooting like this and you're seeing up people's nose into the ceiling. So what I suggest is getting a separate webcam, just a little Logitech webcam, for example, that you hook higher up at eye level. And you can tell, I think all of us on the panel have done that because you're getting a better angle. And it makes it feel more like a conversation as we're here sitting down together and less like we're in this virtual environment and all staring at our laptops. So that's one easy thing you can do to put your best face forward. Lighting is the second one. There's all kinds of cheap stuff on Amazon that these little tools are going to make a big difference. You can even get one of those little clip ring lights. You plug it into your USB port. Is that what you have, Jean? I see a little bit of reflection in your glasses.
This is the first time I'm using it.
Good. So I think the problem is a lot of times we get this dark video. So add a little external light source. Even better if you can reposition yourself by a window and get that natural light coming in on your face, which is going to be more flattering. Then let me just add one thing about how you look. I want you to be you. Let your personality come across. Even if you're sitting at home taking your meetings, in the middle of the pandemic, Sue Huff inspired us with her pearls. She still puts that on and puts her personality front and center. I would encourage you to have a pop of color. Purple's a personal favorite of mine. Mm-hmm. And, lastly, as we only get the information that comes across in this little box. So I would encourage you to avoid sleeveless or short sleeve because it's putting so much more emphasis on the upper half of your body. Unless your arms look like Michelle Obama and it's your best feature, arms out. So those are just a couple of things you can do to make yourself feel good because that confidence is going to come across in your presentation.
Thank you, Jennifer. There are wonderful tips that but yes, I have my first ring one today.
Good work.
Honey, I have a question for you. Are you ready? How effective are webinars and podcasts to a person's business? And that's an important question.
It is. I mean, there's so many people, especially today, since most of us are working remotely and almost everything we're doing today is virtual in nature. To stay relevant, a business has to find unique ways to get out there. So whether it's a webinar or it's a podcast for your business, it's important to keep that relevancy out there. So creating a podcast and a webinar can help you build rich content, because after this particular webinar, for instance, which is being recorded right now. Jeannie will put that out there on her website. She'll go ahead and circulate that out on social media and other platforms as well. If you're in business and you're doing webinars on a regular basis, you're going to go ahead and take advantage of optimizing that webinar, not just to your live host or live guest that you have tuning in at that moment, but also making sure that you have residual by sharing it with groups and friends and people out in the industry, particular target audiences and things like that. So you can really build your content on all your platforms by adding a video, which is your webinar, or your podcast, sharing a link to the audio. But it also helps build brand awareness for your business too. So whether it's a background such as like the one I'm using right now or Corey's using, or if it's just your business platform, whatever the platform is and what you're wearing is all part of your brand awareness. Like Erica, I don't think I've ever seen her without a scarf around her neck.
Unless
It's
you're planning for a triathlon.
unless the triathlon is in place, you're right. But that's part of her brand image. You know, there's certain things that people do. Most people know that there's going to be a splash of orange anywhere in something I'm doing because orange is our company color as well. But everybody shows off their brand in various ways. And on a podcast and webinar, that's going to ring true as well. But it also builds credibility, because you can position yourself as an expert in a particular industry or area. So all of these things, podcasts and webinars are just one further tool to help you get that information, brand awareness, credibility, and all of those important things for your business out there. So if you're considering a podcast or a webinar, tune into all of these folks here on the show today, because they're learning a lot of great stuff. Excuse my lighting, by the way, Jen, when you were talking about lighting, I'm in a new environment today and I'm like, okay, this natural light's coming and going from my window. So I either have a shadow or I'm too lit up. So definitely
not to worry, I've seen much worse.
definitely get those lights for your computer and the camera that Jen was talking about earlier, because that's definitely the way to go to ensure that 100% of the time on your webinars and podcasts, you've got the right lighting, not too harsh, not too soft, so that your viewers can really connect and see you. So thank you, Jeannie.
Excellent information, Connie, but it is important that people know what you're doing in the webinars and podcasts. So you need to get it out. And you know why else? You need to let people know you're still alive and your business is going. And I tell this story every once in a while. When the virus started in our area, somebody told me one day that they knew somebody whose business stopped. It was a dentist's office. And I said, what do you mean? They said it closed down. I said, are you sure it closed down? Are they closed down for good? And they said, yeah. I said, I think you should call and find out. Actually, they just shut down for a week or so to regroup and get their stuff together with the PPP and stuff. And they were okay. And sometimes we get the wrong message out to people or no message, and then people move on and they go with someone else. So even if you're listening to this today and you're thinking podcasts, webinars, you don't have to do them as many as I do or as many as these other people do. You can do one every couple months or one a month or something like that to let people know that you're still out there. Or you can talk to the people that are running the podcast and the webinar and see how you can get involved in theirs. So there's lots of opportunities. The next person I'm going to talk to is Mr. Corey. How are you today, Corey?
I'm great. How are you?
We are excited to have you here as well. How do you produce the Florida Freak Show podcast? Walk us through the process, because this is, and we love your little ad there, so it's very, very
right.
Unfortunately, my sign, when we fixed it early this morning, it is now backwards. So there'll be a test at the end of the program to see if anybody can read it.
I can read it just fine.
Can you read it? It's backwards
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, it mirrors it, so you should be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because it's backwards when I look at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, for you, it's backwards, but it mirrors it for everyone else.
See,
Well,
that's
thank you for the
something I just
question.
learned.
Yeah. So I've already learned so much, so many great tips, from Jennifer and Connie. And I also have a TV background. I work behind the camera most of my time in TV. But the lighting thing is really, really important. In fact, I ended up, I have a light that I sort of use, a little $10 IKEA lamp. That's my little secret. But it was a bit harsh when we were getting ready to start the webinar. So we actually just grabbed some parchment paper from the kitchen and just diffused the light a little bit. So another little fun tip, in case the light is just a little too harsh, you can probably find some paper in your kitchen that will actually diffuse it.
That's
But
exactly
anyway.
what I was going to suggest with clothespins too.
Yep. Yeah, we're using a chip clip. Like
Innovation
anything
at
you can
its
find in the
finest.
kitchen, right? Yeah. But it makes such a difference. So the process that we go through to put together a podcast is very similar to a process that we would go through when we both worked in TV. We sort of format the podcast. We pick 4 stories. So we post stories throughout the week on our Facebook page that people can comment on and talk about and share their sort of Florida Freak ideas about those particular stories. And then we pick the 4 best, and that's what we build our podcast around. They're about 30 minutes long. And so we talk about each one about 8 or 9 minutes, and it's a lot of fun. And, but sometimes choosing the stories is the hardest part. And then we try to find stuff that kind of flows together. And it's really important also for us to find stories that are more about highlighting the situation and not necessarily like a bad situation that happened with the person. Because we sort of have that journalistic integrity sort of built into us. And we don't want to make fun of people. We want to make fun of the situation that happens as much as we can. But so we work on formatting the show. My wife sort of writes it. So we sort of call her the producer and I'm the director. So she writes the podcast, and which basically explains what the story is. And then we sort of have a few jokes that we sort of share back and forth about either shared experiences that we've had with this or other stories that we've heard about in the past. And then when all that's over with, I get to be the one that's when my time comes to shine, and I get to put it together, put it up on edit it all together. I have a background in commercial editing, but you don't have to have a background in commercial editing to do this sort of thing. It's really, really simple. It's just, you get to really play around with the format, and because it's just audio, it's so much fun. But it's a really great process, and we love doing it. And it just gives us something really fun to look forward to every week.
Well, you have a house full of talent. Is she in there with you right now?
No, she's actually working right now. She's
I was
probably
gonna say she should
eavesdropping.
stick her head in and say hi. But
Yeah.
what a phenomenal, talented household that you are running over there. It's like your own studio. Everybody has a piece, and they put it all together, and you're doing it.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
We're very
job.
lucky. She's incredibly talented on air, so I just sort of ride the coattails, and then hopefully I can add a little bit of value on the back end.
And to not hide anything, she actually is now working at Conrick PR and Marketing.
That's right.
What is her job? What is her title?
Director of marketing, right?
Yeah, she's our marketing director, and she's doing a fabulous job. We are so lucky to have her. Thank you for sharing her with us, Corey. We appreciate it.
I'm
like
more than happy to share it with you.
We have like a webinar
great
family
company.
going on here.
It is, yes.
So the next is Erica. Erica, you ready for us?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay. Which is better, having your own podcast or being a guest on another person's podcast?
That is a great question. So as somebody that has both, I have my own podcast and I'm also a guest on podcasts. I think it depends. So I would say that if somebody is new to podcasting, what I would absolutely recommend is, as Corey just beautifully walked us through the process, and he actually left a lot of details out of that process because there's a lot more that goes into it. He was giving y'all the 30,000 feet view. And sometimes it can feel very overwhelming, especially if you're thinking about, well, what do I say? And, who is my audience? And maybe you already know your audience, but you're trying to figure out those things to say. And so one of the things, the biggest piece of advice I could give to somebody that is actually thinking about using podcasting as a tool to expand their brand awareness is to not necessarily take the ownership on themselves to produce, host, edit their own podcast at the moment. But if you are a guest on other people's show, what the major benefit, there's a few major benefits, but it allows you to talk about the thing that you love, that you are the expert at. And it allows you to focus on refining that message, especially for those of you on here who are trying to re-navigate your message after the events that have unfolded this year. it is a way for you to continuously refine that message and be on other people's shows. And it's building your network, because not only are you building and establishing know, like, and trust factor with other hosts who are talking to your ideal customer, but you're also getting in front of new customers, right? Potential customers. And so it has been a very strategic play on my part to, especially when I actually had a podcast back in 2016, I had to sunset it for a number of reasons. We won't go into that today. But one of the things that I did was, instead of having my own show, I just made it a point to guest on other people's shows. And there's a couple things you can do with that. We'll talk about that later on in my remarks today. But I just think starting out, the most strategic play is to try on your message for other people's audiences, add value to other people's audiences, get to know those hosts, get to know those other people that they've already established know, like, and trust factor with. And it's a great way to expand your reach, expand your brand without you having to hold the heavy load of doing it all by yourself. And then when you get comfortable with that, and when you start building a little bit more traction with your brand, yes, absolutely, find a way to maybe work the plan into your marketing plan in terms of having that platform. Because I definitely agree that you need to have a consistent platform. You need to have something, as Connie mentioned earlier, you need to have that consistency because people need to know you. They need to stay top of mind with you. It takes 5 to 12 touches for somebody just to take the next step with you in the sales process. So if you have your own platform, whether it's blogging or podcasting or webinars or whatever it is that you're doing, that's a great way to consistently stay in mind. But focus on one thing at a time. Start with podcasting guest opportunities first, and then roll yourself into a host, an opportunity to host your own.
Thank you, Erica. That was great advice. And just to let you know, if you listen to NBC2 at 11 o'clock at night, they have some wild stories I'm sure you listen to.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And that used to be my job, was like finding those and putting them together. And that's really almost where the whole podcast sort of came from. It's like, this is stuff that we would just talk about in the newsroom anyway. So it was just an opportunity. It's like, wow, sometimes we can be really funny together whenever we talk about this. Maybe there's an idea here. So yeah.
Well, I know Peter Bush is like, they are so funny at 11 o'clock. You never know what story they're going to tell. So I'm back to Jennifer. Jennifer, how do you maximize your webinar long after it's originally held?
Yeah, and I'm going to talk specifically about webinars, but you can start to think about translating these strategies to podcasts as well. So just like we're doing with this session, you got to capture it. Make sure you're recording. And with our webinar technology today, be it Zoom or GoToWebinar or Microsoft Teams, there's a lot of times an option where you check the box that says automatically record on start. Do that. It gives you one less thing to think about as you're facilitating the webinar. So once you have that recording, yes, we're all going to get it today, but I bet very few people actually go back and watch that based on the stats I've analyzed. It's more important to get it to the people who didn't come, who raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested. They registered, but they didn't attend. So make sure you're hitting that audience first. But even looking at those stats, a lot of those people aren't going back and watching the full webinar. So here's what you got to do. Break it up into sections, because you could probably get 3 to 10 really good clips from this conversation. So make those bite-sized pieces from the content you're already collecting. So what I would do with that, for example, let's say we had a doctor on, coronavirus, back to school. I would pull out a little clip and put that out on your social networks or include it in your next newsletter and say, the one key thing Dr. So-and-so says you need to do before you send your kids back to school. That's a bite-sized piece of content that we pulled from our live webinar that people can actually engage with. So I would really encourage you to capture all of it while you're doing it, but then break it up and re-leverage that content on other platforms. Then the last thing I'll say is keep a library of all of that. Get an external hard drive so you have a backup, and keep a video library for everything you've done. And here's why. 6 months, 6 days, 6 years down the road, something's going to happen in the world. And it's going to make you think, hold on, I've got really good content about that. Let me go back to my library and pull it out. So one thing I like to do is to tag everything, even if it's as simple as keeping an Excel spreadsheet. What was the date? Who were the speakers? What were the topics covered? So I can go back and search that spreadsheet and say, oh, there's controversy about releasing a new vaccine. I actually talked with the former CEO of Pfizer. I've got content related to that. And I would just caution when you share that, make sure that you say who said it, when they said it, and where, in what context. You want to be fair to your past presenters in that way. I also suggest getting a signed video release. That way you have a little more flexibility with what you can do with that. So one thing I'm looking at right now is leveraging our video archive as I create new online courses going forward.
Excellent advice, Jennifer. That was very, very good. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important. Some of our old webinars are actually, we put them up on our website. So people go back and read them, but we've had some very exciting ones. So we get a lot of really good feedback, and a lot of people go listen to them again because they'll call me up and say, it was even better the second time.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think you got to make it accessible for people,
Yes.
and you make it easy for them to engage with your content.
Exactly, exactly. You know, you have to know your audience as well. So excellent, excellent answer. Connie, you're next. We have heard you recently launched Southwest Florida Strong Podcast. Can you tell us why you started this and how to get involved? How do we get involved with this?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Before I start talking about that, though, just what Jen said is absolutely fabulous about taking that larger podcast or that larger webinar and breaking it up into little sound bites. So if there's 3 or 4 guests or 3 or 4 questions asked, as long as the host and the guest is pausing between each one, it makes it a little easier to take that break between each one, because we all know our attention span for an hour and a half is not very good. We're going to be coming in and out, picking up little bits and pieces here, but if it's quicker, little 5-minute or less than 5-minute sound bites, even a minute or 2 is ideal. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Jen. For Southwest Florida Strong podcast, that whole podcast is similar to our Facebook group. We launched this simply to connect our community with one another and help our community engage with one another as well. There's just so much going on right now, and we are kind of at an arm's length away from each other, but like this through virtual, we can't be face to face, really. We can't be in a large crowd like we used to be. A lot of us are missing that interaction. So through the podcast, much like the Facebook page, we can connect and engage and get an opportunity to talk to people. We do things a little different. I mean, we're not a traditional audio only podcast. We do use Zoom to create our podcast so that we have a video recording of it too. Because we understand, when we started Facebook, Southwest Florida Strong, the Facebook group page, we within 3 weeks had an audience of 3,000 people. We knew that there was a desire for individuals to connect in a positive space like that. But not everybody's on Facebook. So creating different media outlets and different tools, so something for all audiences, is really the reason why we launched the podcast too. Some people are more audio, video, and like those tools better. So by doing a podcast on a regular basis, setting up ahead of time, like Jen, the strategy, the organization, very, very important behind things. But having the right topics and guests and things like that really help a lot. But our goal is to connect nonprofits and businesses, business to business, businesses to nonprofits, and all of the businesses and nonprofits with our community, because there's just so much going on, and we can all help each other. So by connecting everyone together, I would say that's what we're known for at Conrick PR and Marketing the most, is being that connector, from consumers to businesses, consumers, all of that connection. So this is just one more way we can help people connect, and people can get involved by just going to, you can email us at info@conrickpr.com. They can go to our website. If you have a topic or you have a suggestion you'd like to suggest, we're open to hear that. Southwest Florida Strong is, as we said, Southwest Florida Strong. So we don't feel like this is our podcast. We feel like this is our community's podcast. So we want to put people and topics and talk about things that really matter most to you out there. So definitely reach out to us. Let us know what you want to hear. We have a whole, 3 months set up of possible guests, topics, and information, but we're open to changing that around as things pop up. We know every day, especially the Florida Freak Show, there's no shortage of things that make people laugh and go, huh? That didn't really happen, did it? So we know topics for that or anything just pop up every day. So you might, like Corey might have something popping up that he had scheduled, and then suddenly there's a news today, and I won't mention it today, but there was something on Headline News today that I just thought that would be a great topic for Corey and Kirsten's Freak Show. So there's a lot of unusual things and fabulous things happening all the time in the community. So there's a podcast and webinar platform for everyone and everything. But we end every one of Southwest Florida Strong's podcast with a marketing tip or marketing minute. Not that that should shock anyone, since we are a marketing company, but we find for individuals, businesses, nonprofits, they all need that little extra help. So we give them a little nugget at the end of each podcast that really helps them one step further in helping to build their brand or help connect themselves with the community as well. So, but give us a call if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Nonprofits, we give you a little bit of time there to help talk about what it is that you need in our community, what you're serving, who you're serving, what you're doing to serve this community. And I just think connecting business and nonprofits is very important. It's something the Above Board Chamber does very well. So thank you for doing that, Jeannie.
Well, thank you for that kind statement. I was just thinking when you were speaking about how important it is for people to gather together, and they can. We, the Above Board Chamber, has officially become a Blue Zone partner as of yesterday. And I was reading some of the stuff, and it actually was on Channel 2 yesterday morning, the Blue Zone. And they were talking about the things that help people live longer. And one of the most important things was people gathering together to be together. And they said, that even though it's difficult to do that right now in the world, that this what we are doing right now is so healthy for not just us, the panelists, myself, but our people that are listening to it right now. We need people, and webinars and podcasts are a wonderful way to reach out to other people and let them know they're not alone, to teach them things and just open their world to different things. So I commend each one of you, before I forget at the end, for what you're doing, because you're making a difference and you're helping our businesses in Southwest Florida. I'm going to go to Corey right now. Corey,
Yeah.
What inspires you to create a podcast, and why now?
Well, I mean, we've talked a little bit about it already.
Yeah.
So Florida Freak Show has been an idea that we've had for a very, very long time. We started a Twitter account for it back in 2009. And then we sunset it probably about a year later because it was just getting to be so much, but it was always in the back of our heads. This is something that we could bring back out at some point when we're maybe not as busy, or if we come up with a different way of presenting it. And so when COVID happened in March, I lost my job, and then Kirsten lost her job not long after. And so, everyone's going through a tough time, and we just thought, I just really need another reason to laugh. And so that's when it really, came, to the forefront. We should really revisit this Florida Freak Show idea and do it as a podcast. We have some of the equipment. We have a couple of mics laying around. It's not going to cost us a whole lot to get what we need to make it happen. And we know how to do this. So, and we had the time, we had the ability to do it. We were blessed to get a little bit of time to sort of get that off and running. So we did it, and we're so glad we did. It really helped things out until we were able to get back on our feet. And we also we got a lot of feedback saying it's just really great to laugh and to just have another reason, that we have a number of listeners who are like panting and waiting for our podcast to come out every Wednesday. And if we don't, I remember one time I typically put it out Tuesday really late at night. And then we had some problems and we couldn't get it up until like Wednesday a little bit mid-morning. And I had somebody like, when is the podcast coming? When is the podcast coming? Because they're used to listening to it on their way to work. But it's just, when you hear those stories, it's like, oh, we're really reaching people and it's something that, is making their day brighter. And that fills my heart with so much joy to know that. And it also buoys our spirits whenever things get tough and, and we're wondering, do we have good enough stories to talk about? Do we have enough to really, we are so hard on ourselves. We're our harshest critics. So, but we just know that it's always going to be funny at the end. So it's just, I just think that there's always in everything in life, it's always important to really laugh and have a good time and enjoy what it is that we do and enjoy our work. And this is just something that has been really great for that. And the piece of equipment that we had to buy, I can hold it in the palm of my hand. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but this is basically everything that you need to actually record a podcast right here in the palm of your hand. It's incredible. And we'll talk about that later.
Well, Corey, that, laughter is so important. I remember when, like in, I guess, March, when we were all scared out of our shoes, we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
You were almost felt guilty to laugh. We lost all of our fun inside of us. Like we were like even myself, I'd go to put something on Facebook or something and it was funny. And I was like, I felt bad and I couldn't do it. Because we were confused and hurt and scared and all kinds of adjectives going on. And as time went on, we started letting that out and we were able to breathe and connect better with each other,
Right.
And then Connie started her Facebook one, Southwest Florida Strong, and there was jokes on it. And all of a sudden, everybody started having permission to have fun.
Yep.
And that's, we grow out of laughing. When we laugh, we grow. And if you see a child laughing on Facebook or an adult laughing on Facebook, if they're so funny, you can't even help it. You start laughing with them. So thank you for what you're doing because it's important to all of us, to grow through laughter and to get us through these times because they will get better. So thank you.
I did want to say one quick thing about something that Connie did say that you sort of hammered on that I think is really important. When we get into these tough times, it really is important that we double down on community. That's when we really have to do more and more to make sure that we feel a stronger sense of a bond. And so that I just wanted to really make that point because it is true. It's so easy to doom scroll and scroll through your stuff and see all the bad news that's happening out there. There are good things that are happening in our communities all the time. And that's when we really need to see those stories even more.
And we need our friends. We need to make new friends. And through all these platforms, it's a perfect opportunity to see people like, I like that person. I want to get to know that person more. I want their email. I want to know where they are on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, because we need to connect as human beings. I mean, that's so important. Erica, you're up. Why do professionals need to have ready before they can be considered as a featured guest on a podcast? What do they need to know? That's important.
Okay, so what they need to have ready before anything else is they need to have their information together in some sort of what I call the speaker's profile, or like a one sheet, like a one-page document that's going to have who you are, what you represent, what topics you're talking about, perhaps some pertinent questions that are going to be relevant to if you're going to be doing a podcast per se. I actually have two variations of this. One that's more related to virtual speaking opportunities. So if somebody's meeting me for the first time, or I'm pitching myself for something, or my team is now, because my team has grown in COVID. So this is crazy that I don't have to do it myself anymore. But when they're pitching on my behalf to some of these podcast hosts that have never heard of me before, those podcast hosts have to have kind of at a glance what I represent, why am I relevant for their audience, why does it matter? So a short bio is sufficient on there, obviously your contact information, your lovely headshot, and like I said, any topics that you're going to speak to, I wouldn't do 20 topics. I would pick maybe the top 3 that are the most relevant, the ones that you feel so confident about. And the reason why I say 3 is because it allows that podcast host or the virtual speaking gig, the person that's hosting that virtual event, to know exactly that you're the person that's going to be the right fit for the thing that they're trying to book for. So if you have that, you have some questions. And then I would back that up with making sure that you have all of that information that's on this beautiful one sheet, or this speaker's toolkit, that you have it also in a kind of in a generic form, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or just a document, a Word document, so you can copy and paste the information. Because oftentimes when my team is pitching me for opportunities now, what'll happen is a lot of podcast hosts will require form fields, they'll require some sort of form, and they're not going to have an opportunity to upload that speaker's one sheet. So if you just have that information kind of at the ready, you can copy and paste like your bio and your topic titles. But here's the kicker. If you are pitching yourself or you have somebody doing it on your behalf, make sure that when you're pitching yourself, it is so relevant to their show and their audience. Because if it's all about me, I usually get those in my inbox and they are out the door fast, because it has nothing to do with, and that person just wasted their time. So it has nothing to do with my audience. It's all about me. So make sure that when you are pitching yourself, even in those form fields, yes, share your bio, share your expertise. Why are you the best fit for that? But make darn sure that you are going to speak to their audience. You're catering to their needs. And you could do that with just a quick search. If you're already on their podcast page to pitch yourself, I imagine their podcast is on that same page, and you can listen to a few episodes to get a sense if it's a good fit for you or not. And that's the other thing. You definitely want to make sure that your topics are relatable and they're aligned with that audience. And if they're not, then it's wasting your time. So one of the things that I did to help you all out today was I actually recorded an entire episode on this. So shameless plug for the Love the Work You Do podcast. But if you go to ericakastner.com/24, and I'll put that in the chats, the chat box, you can actually listen to how I break that down step by step on how to create your own speaker's profile, so that you're ready to go, that you don't have to pay somebody else to do it for you. You can actually gather that information if you're not sure what to gather. That whole episode at ericakastner.com/24 will have the full rundown on that. And there's even a printable, downloadable thing that you can grab on that same page as well if you need to read it.
Thanks, Erica. That was great advice and a great tip. I'm sure everybody is going to be looking for it. We have a
Erica,
question
I'm
up
downloading
here.
that for my cousin. She is launching her own podcast related to weddings and all the emotions going on with COVID. She's a psychologist. So we're actually been pitching her, and I haven't done it in a systematic way. So thank you.
You're
There you
welcome.
go.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat box, so you guys have it.
It's already, it's already in there.
Thank you.
We have a question from Miss Sue Huff. She announced last week or so ago that she's going live. She's going to have a live show on Facebook starting later this month. It's called On the Sipping Porch with E. Sue Huff. E. Sue. Any suggestions of the best day of the week and the best time of the day? It's going to be light, fun time, no seriousness. No, Sue, we would not expect anything serious from you on a show
Not
like
at
this.
all.
And I have to say, Sue got this idea when she was on vacation a couple weeks ago with Carol Davis, and it's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. Does anybody have any advice on what day would be the right day to have it at and time?
Well, I can just jump in real quick. So obviously, the first thing that you should always do with any piece of content is to know exactly what audience you're wanting to target. and to think about how they would consume your product that way. But in general, what I've learned sort of, through trial and error a little bit, is that you want to do it either really, really late at night or early in the morning so that it's ready for people when they start their day. And it's the first thing that they can see when they start their day. Because so many people consume their podcast while they're on their way to work, or at different points of the day. And if you do it early in the day, it's something that when they're just getting started and they're in the middle of their routine, they would be able to find it very quickly. When we first started doing our podcast, I was putting them up midday, and I realized, it would make a whole lot more sense to try doing it in the morning to see if that would make a difference. And it certainly did. We got a lot more downloads that way. And it also helped a lot of our loyal listeners, that didn't have to wait till the next day to listen to the podcast. They wanted to listen to it on their way to work. So I would suggest like a Tuesday or Wednesday. You want to make sure you do it a day early in the week so that they have the whole week to be able to consume it, because not as many downloads happen on the weekends. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah,
And then I have,
Story. Thank you.
I'm thinking about it a little differently because of the Facebook Live element.
oh,
So
sure.
If you,
Oh, right.
if you want people to join you,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
I'm
totally
thinking
agree with everything you
podcasts.
said for podcasts, absolutely. But if you're wanting people to join you, I kind of see it as like, I'm going to sit down with a glass of wine and join Sue and her guest on the porch.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I would work that into people's habits. I'm kind of thinking like, Thursday after work, 5:30, like that's when I want it to be appointment viewing, that I'm going to sit down with Sue on Facebook Live.
I think to your point, Jen, too, is if it's going to be a glass of wine with Sue, then having it during that happy hour, cocktail hour, where people can join her for a glass of wine while they can listen to her. If it's a coffee talk show, having it in the morning where morning listeners can join with a cup of coffee instead of turning on the news at that hour or reading the paper at that hour, they can tune in and just have some laughs with Sue, which we all know Sue can make us laugh no matter what she is doing. She is always looking on the light side of things and bringing a smile to our face for sure. So I can't wait to tune in. So hopefully she has it at an hour I can tune into. Otherwise, I'll go back and look at it anyway. But I'd join her for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. So I think anytime she does it would be great.
Yeah, I think, Sue, you just get to pick, or maybe it's sweet tea in the middle of the afternoon and come take a break with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because of our working schedules, if that's who you're targeting, you got to go morning or you got to go after work hours.
Perfect advice, everyone. Sue, I hope you got all that information, and we're going to move to the next question. Oh, Sue just wrote down wine. I guess she's not doing coffee.
So maybe not 10 a.m.
No, don't do that.
Anything after 5 is fine, or 4.
Anything after 5, you can have a glass of wine with Sue on the
5
porch.
o'clock somewhere, right?
On the porch, But I can guarantee, and she's being one of my BFFs, that you're going to have a lot of fun with Sue. So I'm sure she's going to get lots of followers because we already know about it already. So we're excited. Jennifer, I'm going to get you back up here again. What's the secret to make sure your webinar is a success? People need to know that. They're so afraid that what happens if it doesn't work, Well,
I'm going to give you the secret. Here's all you have to do. Practice. Do some kind of run through. So for example, we hopped on 15 minutes early. Javier is such an awesome technical host. He told us exactly what to expect and we were prepared. You gotta practice, whether you're doing it with a panel of 5 people or whether it's just you. It makes all the difference. Now let me add a big caveat to that. You ever prepare for a presentation? Like you walk into the room, you set up your video, you practice, you make sure it plays and there's audio. Then everybody else comes in and 10 minutes later, you go to hit play and it doesn't work. And you go, oh, I just prepared this 10 minutes ago. So I think you have to almost expect for something like that to go wrong so that when it happens, you say, there it is, instead of letting it throw you off. So I absolutely recommend doing some kind of run through. I got to tell you though, we actually had a Zoom hacking incident on an event that I was co-hosting last night. It was a kickoff for a charity fundraiser. And all of a sudden, these strangers were on the line yelling obscenities. It was really bad. But here's the thing, the hosts handled it really well. Everybody got off the meeting. We were able to reestablish and proceed with the event. But let me tell you 2 things you need to be doing so that doesn't happen to you. If you're hosting a webinar like this, use the registration feature. And the benefit is, you know who's coming in advance, but they're getting emailed that link and password to the meeting. Don't post that publicly. And I think that was a mistake that was made in this case. So use the registration, have people get emailed the link and password so it's not posted publicly. And then second thing, use the password. Make sure that you've checked that feature on your webinar. And then you can also utilize the waiting room feature, where instead of everybody just coming in at the start of the program, you're checking and admitting people. It's a lot easier if you have a helper like Javier or someone to check that off. But that's what we ended up having to do to safely get everyone readmitted. We had to wait, one by one just to verify everyone was actually who they said they were. So I really hope you don't have an experience like that. But if you do, take a deep breath. You can overcome this. And because this has been kind of an issue in the news in the past few months, people are pretty forgiving, thank goodness.
That was excellent advice. I want to share a little bit. We had a webinar a couple months ago. One of the things when I'm set up for my webinars, I have 2 screens. One screen has my questions on it, and it has a little bit about the panelists, and the other one has the Zoom on it. Well, I had a gentleman that was on the panel, and he got lost. He ended up with the participants, and we couldn't find him. We found him, we put him in, and I introduced him, and I said to him, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he started to speak. He said about 1 sentence, and he went blank. He froze up, not the screen. He froze up, went blank. And I was able to look at the other screen, and I had all the information right there. So make sure you have notes all the time in case something goes wrong. So plan B is right there. So there was no pause really, but he literally had his mouth wide open. He just forgot who he was and what he was saying.
And it happens. So
it happens. So you have to be ready for them and be able to protect them and help your panelists or
whether it's technology issues or scheduling issues, what would you have done if all 4 of us couldn't show up today? You had information in front of you that, what, we tap dance and we pull it off.
I also send the Wizard of Oz, Mr. Javier, before the meetings. He gets my agenda and he gets all the questions and all the different stuff. So if something were to happen, say we had a storm and I went down, Javier can jump right in and do it. So plan Bs are really important to have. And it's really important to have somebody like Javier and Conric PR right behind you that's taking care of things. Our next question is for Miss Connie. What's the biggest hurdle or challenge when starting a podcast or webinar?
Well, as we talked about, setting it up with the registration, because you don't want to get hacked. So she touched base on that, which was amazing, because that is one of those things you have to do. But a way to avoid that is to also do like a pre-recording. It doesn't have to be live all the time. So if you're doing a webinar or you're doing a podcast, remember that you can pre-record, and it doesn't, and this is obviously our audience, our panelists know this, but for our audience, you don't have to be live to do these. You can go ahead and shoot them, record them, and play them. Put them out on your website, send traffic to it through your emails and also through social media, so that if you're not comfortable doing a live broadcast via podcast or webinar, you can record those and get those out there. That can help you, especially if you tend to be a little nervous in the beginning. This can help you if you have to record it or make some edits to it before it goes out live to anyone. But some of the biggest hurdles and challenges, I think, too, with podcasts and webinars, if you're going to go ahead and start one of your own, is time management. Because a lot of times, you're well intended, but if you're really not that organized, you need to count on somebody that can keep you organized, like a Javier or someone from your team, maybe Corey's wife, or anyone that can help you stay on track and stay on time. Because if you are going live with these, making sure that you are on time on a regular basis is going to be key. And I think all of us have had those things where like you're intended to do this, anything can go wrong at any time. But I think time management is key. Strategy and strategic planning is key. Knowing, and part of that is not only knowing your topic and conversation, knowing your guest, but doing some research ahead of time. So to Jeannie's point, if she didn't have information on that candidate or whoever that was, that guest you had that froze on screen like that, there would have been no way possibly to snap him out of that and fill that void. So learning as much as you can about the person you're going to be having on as a guest is key so that you can engage in more conversation. Maybe they ran through their questions really quick and you have to fill some time. If you know the topic and you know that person well, you can go ahead and fill those gaps a little bit better. But also brand and image, being prepared ahead of time to go, what is the image that you want to portray out there to everyone? You know, knowing who your target audience is will help dictate that. Kind of like Sue, and you know, we just learned about her with her brand image and everything else too. If it's going to be wine, knowing what she's planning there, what is her purpose of it as well. So we're doing a podcast or webinar, and a lot of more people are doing their own podcasts and webinars or guest on them. Whether you're a guest or you're hosting, what is your purpose? What is the intention behind that podcast or webinar? What do you hope people leave with? What impression are you hoping to make? And what action do you want them to come back with? Obviously, all of those things are key. Also coming up with the right niche for your podcast and audience, because you need to keep it exciting and keep it engaging. You know, some are going to be more serious in nature and others are going to be more fun to watch. All audiences are different. So, you know, whether you're an audience for the Freak Show, an audience for Erica's podcast that she does, or Jen's, there's very specific targeted audiences that they're going after, whether it's CEOs, people for Corey, any audience that really just looking for some laughter. I mean, and really bring up that kind of news that maybe doesn't always make traditional platforms. And for Erica, a lot of women, and she's got her tribe. You know, there's women all over, not only Southwest Florida, but everywhere tuning in. She's got her tribe that they know they can talk to Erica about just about anything. So everybody's got their niche and their thing. For us, it's really just connecting and engaging people, trying to provide yet one more media platform for businesses, for nonprofits to get out there and have a platform to speak their mind, say what they need to say out there to the audience, and get it out there as much as we can. So knowing all of those things can, not having those things ready can be an obstacle, can create a hurdle in the success of your podcast and webinar. So I would say those are four areas where a lot of people end up facing challenges. Time management and strategy is definitely probably the two biggest areas where I see people have difficulty, and burnout. You know, making sure that you're constantly staying on top of your platform and finding ways to keep your guest engaging and things like that too, because your audience gets burnout, but you as a host get burnout as well, because you lose your excitement yourself for what you're doing. So keeping it exciting at all times. Don't let yourself get burnt out. Just, you've got this. We know you've got this. So if you're interested, you know, to reach out to any one of us, because I think any one of us would be available to help you with some tips for your podcast or webinar.
Thank you, Connie. You gave us a lot of wonderful things to think about. And, you know, there's a process of doing all these different things. And listening to people that know what they're doing is absolutely helpful. Corey,
Yes.
what have you learned in your work producing and promoting your podcast? What equipment? Now we're back to the equipment.
Right.
Can you pull up your handheld?
Yeah. So a craftsman's only as, you know, good as the tools that he uses, right? So, so luckily when we decided to do this podcast, we had some of the equipment that we needed. We had a couple of microphones and the cables that we needed, but we didn't have anything to basically record it. And I remember from my time working at the News Press and working with those amazing photographers and videographers that work there. that I remember Andrea Melendez, who's our video guru, used to bring this thing around all the time, and she would use it to capture the audio for whenever she was doing videos. And I was like, what is that? And she's like, it's called the Zoom H6, and it's easily one of the best tools in my toolbox. It has the ability to not only put 4 different microphones into it, but it records it all onto a little SD card, you know, like you would have in your camera. And what, for techies like me, what is really amazing about it, it has like a little video display, like right here on the front. If you can see it, my Zoom background is screwing up a lot of that. But it has a little light up display that shows me the audio levels so that I can monitor those while we're while we're doing the podcast. And it also has preamps in it that makes those microphones really, really beautiful and rich. And that is something, it gets that sound that I'm looking for. And it's all it's basically the size of a very thick iPhone. So it's just, if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be able, we could still do the podcast, but it would require so much more. It would require doing it next to a computer. With this, we can take it anywhere with us. So it's really, really great. But then in addition to that, and I saw that one of the questions in the Q&A is, what kind of software do you use to edit these? I use the best one out there because it's free. It's called Audacity, and it's open source editing software. It's very easy to use. If you've ever edited anything, even if you've used iPhoto on your Apple iPhone, or any kind of nonlinear editing system, it is a breeze to use. And even if you can't use it, just go on YouTube and you can find a 13-year-old that'll teach you how to do it. That's the best part about YouTube. It'll teach you everything you need to know. So between all of those are the most important tools in my toolbox. But probably even more important than the Zoom H6 is an app on my phone called Headliner that I use. And Jennifer had sort of talked a little bit about this earlier when she was saying, when you build out your content, you want to break it up into smaller segments. Headliner is an app that I use to create what they call audiograms, which are basically video clips that use the audio from your podcast and sort of have like a little video. In this case, it would be a picture of Kirsten and I with the little Florida Freak Show logo, some information about it, and then a waveform that sort of, goes along with our voice. But what is wonderful about that is, because so much of our promotion that we do for this is on our Facebook page, Facebook's algorithms are all built towards video. They want people to create videos and share them as much as possible. So with this software, I'm able to create 1-minute videos or less, or even more, and segment out our podcast into little like bite-sized nuggets that give people an idea of what it's like to listen to us. I can't ask someone to listen to 30. It's hard for me to ask someone, hey, would you like to listen to our podcast? Download it and listen to all 30 minutes. That's hard for people to do. But if they're scrolling through Facebook and they see a video that pops up and it's just maybe a familiar voice, or it's people laughing and having a good time around a story, and we just give them like a little 1-minute segment that captures the essence of what we're doing, that might be the thing that triggers them to, I like these people. I like what they're talking about. I'm interested in that. I'll subscribe to it. And that's how we try to hook them in.
Corey,
So this Headliner app does this all for me for free. It's absolutely wonderful. It's almost hard for me to believe that it basically scratches all the itches that I'm looking for. And the fact that it's free, I mean, that's the best price out there. So
Free is good.
Yeah. Free is great.
Could I ask,
Yes.
on the topic of software,
Sure.
what platform do you like to use for hosting? For example, I've looked into Buzzsprout.
That's exactly what we use. Thank
Is it?
you
Okay,
for bringing
good.
that up, Jennifer.
What is it
So,
called?
yeah.
Go ahead.
What is it called?
It's called Buzzsprout. When we were out looking for a platform, like a platform to host our podcast, and it does all of the work also of sharing it on all the different platforms for us to use. So obviously, at the time when we were looking for it, we were both out of a job. So money was very important. That's why free was speaking to us everywhere we could go. But it's also important that you understand what it is that you need to get out of these tools to make sure that that free tool is exactly the right one. If in this case, Buzzsprout was $13 a month, but it did, once we uploaded it to Buzzsprout, it has all the tools to create all the SEO that you need around it to make it able to people to find it. And then it puts it on, I would say we're on 15 to 16 different podcast platforms. I mean, there are ones that we're on that I wasn't even aware existed before.
Yeah, it's
but
almost like
Buzzsprout
that
has been
central
great
point,
for us.
and it
Yeah.
spreads you out everywhere.
Yeah, and it just makes everything so much easier. You can actually even listen to our podcast if you have an Alexa or a Google Home in your house. All you have to do is say, and I'm afraid to say it because I
Don't
have
say it, mine will start talking.
Right, but you just say, "Hey, whatever its name is, play Florida Freak Show podcast," and it will start playing. It's wonderful.
I did a webinar recently and somebody said it, and she's right next to me and she started talking during the
She'll
webinar.
just start talking.
I did a spreadsheet comparison of different hosting platforms within the last couple of months, and my conclusion was Buzzsprout was the best for our purposes. So thank you for validating that. And if anybody else is thinking, oh, I got to look into this, I don't know what to do, take it from my research and Corey's recommendation, host on Buzzsprout.
Right. And just like every other great marketing or company that has a fantastic site, they have a great blog that helps you to walk through a lot of the basics that you need. They know that everyone that's coming to them is probably starting a podcast for the first time. So their blog is rich with all kinds of great tips and tricks for making sure that your podcast sings and finds the right audience. It's a godsend in so many ways. And that's how you know it's a great company. So yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for the assist on that one.
I'd like to make a suggestion when each one of you recommends something, just put it in the chat.
Sure.
So people can see, because sometimes when we're speaking a little fast and people miss it. That's why I ask you sometimes.
You got it.
Yourself. So put that in there so people get that. Erica, you have a question, and then we have a question from our audience. Your question is this is for everyone who's probably listening. For those who might have that little voice that says, who am I to be interviewed on a podcast? Or my industry is so noisy. How can I stand out? What advice would you give them?
That's a great question. So here's the thing. You and only you can deliver the expertise from your point of view, from your experiences, and tie in those client experiences, those case studies, the things that you already get your hands dirty in, right? That work that you do, somebody out there needs to hear it from you. If you don't show up, write this down, everybody. If you don't show up, who misses out on your gifts? Who misses out on that transformation that you're providing, whether it's providing laughs, whether it's providing some sort of nugget that's going to get them thinking outside of the box as it relates to their business? You and only you can deliver it in that way. And if you're not showing up, if you're not being authentic in your own voice and being consistent with showing up, somebody else is going to miss out on that transformation. So I like to think of it, and there was a quick question in the chat box, and I'm not looking at it right now, but in terms of just thinking about your audience, right? One of the easiest ways that I've been able to get over that inside voice in my own head is partner with other people, partner with other podcast hosts, add value to their audience, not make it about myself, right? Because if I'm in my own head about, well, you know what, like I have an episode today, or I'm scheduled to post an episode in the next week, and I'm in my own head about, well, should I do that? Should I not do that? I'm probably not going to go do that. But if I have on my calendar that I'm going to be a guest on Connie's show, right? I'm going to be showing up, being present, being active, being live, being excited and charged up to share value and help her audience. And so creating that buzz, creating that vibe, it takes the pressure off you to own that all by yourself. And it almost inspires you to just stop thinking about yourself, stop thinking about all those negative Nelly voices that are going on in your head, to just go and really inspire change with somebody else's audience. And so for me personally, like, number one, it's not about you, it's about the impact that you're creating. And if you can get that out of your mindset, right? That's really not about me. It's about the impact that I'm making. If I don't show up today, who else misses out on my gifts? And then if you're still puzzled with it, again, reach out to your network, find out other opportunities to go plug yourself into their communities, because you're going to hold that space for that appointment versus having an appointment on your calendar to show up on a live stream or a webinar or a podcast, whatever platform it is. And if it's on your platform and you don't feel comfortable or confident in yourself, you're probably going to ditch it. But I can tell you right now, if Corey, Jennifer, Connie, Jeannie, I mean, like, if I was feeling low today, I was still going to show up. I don't, but I was still going to show up today for this interview and bring the heat, right? I was going to bring the energy to it. So, but if it was my own thing and I didn't feel like it, I'd probably bag it. So anyway, hope that's helpful for anybody out there that's thinking too much about their inner voice. Get out of your own head. It's about other people.
I love that you just turned up the heat for that comment right there. You just brought it all to the table. Love it.
Bring it in.
Actually, that was one of the questions that I was going to ask from the chat was, thank you, Erica, was how do you build your audience? Because people that are listening right now want to know, how do you do that? That's an important question.
You want me to answer that real
No,
quick?
you already did, Corey.
Oh, okay.
Well, so one of the ways that is really helpful for us, because it's so dynamic, is using those audiograms that I create on Headliner. I mean, it's all about building a community with Facebook. I mean, we also post some stuff on Twitter, but Facebook is where we're getting the most engagement. And and it's so it's focusing your energies in the areas where you're getting a lot of engagement and you're getting some traction. So and then it's all about, so how do I make that work better? From my time working in social media, I just know, and the algorithms change all the time, but Facebook loves video. So my whole focus when we first started was, how do I create those audiograms and do that at a good price point that allows me to really maximize our marketing strength and muscle. So finding Headliner made all of that easier for me. And so that's what I focus the large majority of my energy on. And even though we don't have a presence on Instagram, I personally do. And so I'll post a lot of my audiograms on it as well. And we found listeners from there as well. So just finding your audience and then trying to give them what they want in whatever format is always best for me.
That's
And ask for
all
their
about
feedback.
connections.
Yeah,
Jennifer,
ask for
how do
their
you do
feedback.
that?
Your audience will tell you what they want too. So
Yeah.
once you've started to cultivate that, ask them.
Mhm.
I guess the thing that I'm really doing right now, we have an existing audience of a couple thousand with the Next Gen Speaker Series. So in the next few months, I'll be leveraging them for our online platform called InspireLink, and our podcast will be in the InspireLink podcast. So I'd say any existing audiences that you have, for example, through your above board chamber connections, use those as a starting point to amplify your message.
Excellent. Connie.
Great feedback. For us, it's really the way we approach anything for our clients. It's the same way. If you're announcing a new podcast or a new platform, get it out to the media and the masses too, any way you can. So we like to start off by putting out a press release. And if it's a local audience, localize the press release. If it's an international or national audience, make it a national press release to make sure that you amplify the audience and get it out there. Once you have that press release, put it on your website, the actual press release. Any links to any media, share that out on your website and on your social platforms too, because all of those media pickups announcing your podcast or webinar will also enhance the credibility and the audience reach of that as well. So for us, even though press releases to some people may seem foreign or antiquated, a traditional press release from years ago is very different today. Most press releases now, I mean, it's a huge digital reach and platform that those press releases go to. And besides that, as everyone's indicated, knowing your target audience on all your digital platforms will allow you to take that podcast, webinar, wherever you've got it. I like to start it off on a website because I like that to be the foundation for everything. And then taking that link and sharing it on everything, whether it's in an e-newsletters, social media platforms. It doesn't have to be every platform. It's the ones your audiences are tuning into and listening. Same thing with blog platforms and things like that too. Just getting it out there to as many people as you can, sharing it in groups. Every client has a different strategy. Every platform that we promote has a different strategy because the audiences are so different.
Excellent. Audiences are extremely important, and to introduce them to each other, which is one of the things everybody has been talking about. You can't stay in a bubble. We stay in a bubble, you're going to be preaching to the choir. So you have to get out there and you have to meet people and you have to introduce them. And don't be afraid to introduce them to your competitors, because you'll become friends with your competitors, and everybody's going to learn from each other. So it's really, really important that we do that. There's some suggestions that some people put up a little while ago. Is anybody familiar with Otter?
Otter.
I am.
Otter
Yep.
AI.
Otter?
You turn me on to that.
Yeah.
Is that something that you recommend, Corey?
Well, I mean, I think it's an incredible app.
Okay.
I started using it a few years ago for just recording mainly meetings. When I was working at the News Press, we did a lot of editorial board meetings, and there was a lot of, there's obviously in every meeting, there's a lot of important things that are said. And the incredible power that Otter has, it lives on your phone. It's just an app on your phone. But not only does it record a meeting for you, but actually transcribes the meeting while it's going on as well. So, I mean, it was exactly what I needed at the time to basically create notes, because we didn't have the staff to have somebody there to take notes and also to participate in the meeting. So it made things a lot easier for that. Erica, what do you use it for now?
So actually, I was only using it for meetings for that reason,
Sure.
because it wasn't necessarily, especially for show notes. It's not it might have come a long way, but since I started
Sure.
stopped using that about, what are we on? Month 6, 7 of not seeing people. But yeah, I mean, that was a great tool, and that was a great suggestion, Corey. That was why I was using it, for that reason.
Uh-huh.
Something else to consider, y'all, if you're thinking about transcription services, is I use something called Timmy.com. For 25 cents a minute, they can do transcriptions for you. So it's not the most accurate, but it is a great way to, if you do want to make it more SEO friendly and that sort of thing in terms of your audio content, it's and video content too. It's a great way to do that. Of course, I know like YouTube and some other platforms already have that service kind of built into their interfaces in terms of transcription. So some other tips for you all.
Excellent.
Yeah, but so to speak to the question about using it as a way of recording, your voice to create a podcast, I mean, it's one of those things that if it works for you, then great, because it does do just that, and it has a powerful microphone inside of it, to where, I mean, I wouldn't suggest it like if you're thinking about doing a podcast long term. But if you want to just get like pieces of audio that you can put together and get up on your blog, it's hard to go wrong with it. There are other apps out there. I know one called there's one that I've used before called Smart Recorder that has a bit more power to it, but it's only as powerful as your phone could possibly be. But I mean, it's hard to argue with, getting all those minutes for free with Otter. And like Erica and I said, we used it for meetings before, so it's got a lot of other uses in addition to that.
Well, that was from Bethany, and she actually said that you get 600 free minutes a month recording for free. So that's an excellent tool that somebody can use and get it going. But we're coming to the end of our podcast or webinar, and I cannot say how much I appreciate the information that each one of you have shared today. I got like a minute and a half left. I'm just going to tell you I'm going to ask you if there's one more thing you want to say real fast, even if it's your website or your email. Let's get that in, and then I have one little announcement today. Jennifer, website, email.
Well, let me amplify what Erica said. Only you can do what you were put here to do the way you can do it. Tell yourself that in the mirror every morning, and that's good motivation. Email me, jtrammell@nextgennaples.com if you'd like an invitation to the Next Gen Speaker Series. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. Connie, your email?
Email is info@conrickpr.com. That's CONRICPR.com. Connect, engage. You know, I'm free to talk to you anytime you have a question.
Thank you. Erica, email.
My email is simply erica@ericakastner.com. And if you want the scoop on all tips related to loving the work you do, head on over to ericakastner.com/podcast.
Corey?
Email is Corey O'Donnell, CORYODONNELL @gmail.com, just like it's spelled. And then if you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, just go to floridafreakshow.com.
Well, I want to thank you all and remind everybody, we have another webinar that is coming up, and it's next week, and it's September 10th. It's the same time, it's next Thursday, on respecting the trades. There's a lot of great trade colleges in Southwest Florida, and people are learning a lot of things. I spoke to one of the top people, one of them the other day, and they said that 90+% of the people that are going to these trade schools graduate, and they usually start at least $60,000 a year. So we're really excited about this next week. So we're going to find out opportunities for people to have jobs, because you can go to school and work and within 2 years get a terrific job. So look forward to that. I'm Jeannie Sweeney. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Above Board Chamber. Our website is aboveboardchamber.com. My email is Jeannie, JEANNE, @aboveboardchamber.com. Thank you all. You did a terrific job. Brittany, I don't know if you're still with us up in the audience, but thank you for telling us about the walk that is coming up that we can do wherever we are. So we're excited. I wish everybody an Above Board Chamber day, and thank you for joining the Above Board Chamber today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone.